Hey babies, it's your favorite host, Mr. BMG, back at it again with another episode. Let's get into it. Anyway, babies, I hope you've had an amazing week and I've been doing what makes your heart full. This past week was ATL Pride. Now, I know probably some of you are confused because a month ago, you probably saw me doing another Pride recap and you're like, okay, well, what's going on now, you know? So Atlanta has like several Prides, you know, I'm talking hundreds, I'm kidding. But like, sometimes it feels like it's Pride every other month. So this one is the last one for the year. Well, actually, it's not the last one for the year. It's the last official one for the year, but then there is also like Halloween, which is kind of like an unofficial Pride again. For me, it's more so like counting how many times Deviant throws events. Now, they don't throw events on every single Pride, but whenever they kind of throw an event, it's kind of like a Pride. And there's always just like something going on that's gay in Atlanta. It really is the gayest place on earth. Yes, long story short, yeah, it's Pride again. This one is kind of known as the White Pride because it's like very white, essentially. You probably see from the recaps, like the general audience is white. The one that we had a month ago was the Black Pride. And for me, that's like, having gone to this Pride, it actually made me realize that Atlanta's black, but it's really not as black as people think it is. Like, there's a very strong white population here and strong white affluent population that I've actually seen in different spaces. Like, I once went to a restaurant and literally I was one of the only, if not the only black person sitting there ordering a drink. And everyone else in the restaurant was white, so it kind of actually felt a little weird. Like, I think for them also it was kind of like jarring because it's like, well, this is kind of like our spot, so what are you doing here? You know, so that's kind of how it felt in that regard in that restaurant. And in reflecting on that, I actually realized why there's probably a need for Black Pride in Atlanta, because it never made sense to me that if the place is so black and it's like, you know, the Black Mecca, why does it need exclusively Black Pride, you know, when the majority of the population is black, although it's not a, you know, 50% majority, it's majority relative to other proportions of races. But I think it's because of that. And also the White Pride is the one that gets most of the sponsorship. So you'll see that Coca-Cola and, you know, all these different brands, like huge brands, are backing the White Pride. So obviously it's going to be bigger and it's going to be attended by a larger audience. But like, I think I say all this to say that Atlanta isn't really as black as people think it is. And if anything, a lot of the wealth in Atlanta, like the real wealth, the corporates are run by white people, and people just exist in silos essentially. Like, black people do their thing, white people do their thing, and in some environments like Pride, in certain other settings that bring people of all races together, you see sort of a good mixture of people. I would say Ego is kind of a good example of a mixed environment where you will see white people and you will see black people interacting, and, you know, the rainbow family essentially. So yeah, but it was good, enjoyed it. Pride took place over 3 days, and the first day was kind of like the opening kickoff at the Georgia Aquarium, which was absolutely stunning. My highlight was the dolphin show, which was so special. Like, I didn't realize I wanted to see that show because I was just like, why are they having a dolphin show for Pride? But it's actually so special. It was so nice. Dolphins are really like the dogs of the ocean. Like, they're like those animals that humans absolutely adore, and, you know, you can see that like with the different instructors and what they were doing, the little tricks they were doing. They have like a beautiful, cute special connection. So it was really nice to see. I enjoyed the presentation. It was also short and sweet, which I love. Everything that's just to the point, punchline, do it, let's go. And the Saturday night was the Flo Milli performance and Bob the Drag Queen, which was really nice and really set the tone. Like, it's definitely big. Like, it's definitely a big event is what I've seen, from reflection to some of the other prides that I've been to all over the country. Atlanta Pride is pretty big. Enjoyed the Flo Milli performance. She was wonderful. Obviously, Never Lose Me. You know, you can never go wrong with that song. 5 a.m. in Houston, darling. You know, that's the girl. And also, Bob the Drag Queen was actually a headliner as well. That performance that she gave was very much thought out. Like, I almost want to say that Bob the Drag Queen's performance was actually better than Flo Milli's performance, just in terms of visuals, in terms of structure. You know, you can see that Bob the Drag Queen, like, does shows or structures shows to a T. Do you know what I mean? Like, there's different segments, there's different messages that they're coming through. I almost want to say Bob the Drag Queen is the Beyonce of drag. And also because I feel like there's a lot of political imagery and messaging in their drag, and it makes you think. It's like creativity with a purpose, which I love. I think there was probably some technical issue where, like, the lighting reflecting on the artists wasn't as bright, so you couldn't really see their faces. But that was kind of a small technical issue, I feel. But other than that, the performances were like absolutely flawless and amazing, and I really enjoyed it. So kudos to you guys. And also, like, the Pride Parade was absolutely stunning, beautiful day, and lots of color, lots of enjoyment, and that's really what Pride is about. On to the business of the day, you know, after reflecting on Pride, into Real Housewives of Potomac. So Wendy Osefu and her husband got into some trouble, and I think they were arrested allegedly for fraud charges, and it had to do with some insurance fraud allegedly. So Bravo also pulled a wife swap episode that Wendy was supposed to be in. And for me, it's like a lot, because I'm thinking this whole, fame to jail pipeline is for the housewives is very much like a trend now. Like, they literally are. It's like they're popping, they have a mugshot to complement that. Like, it's, for me, it actually doesn't even make sense. And what makes me think about, what I start to think about rather, is why is that? Why is that a lot of these housewives get into legal trouble or get arrested? And I guess the simple answer to that is that their shit is in the light, so it gets exposed and people talk about it, so they're in some ways easier targets. So everything that they do is under a microscope because they're now in the public eye. So if they were being dodgy, if the means that they used to get money and whatever the case may be was dodgy before there was cameras in front of them, people are going to dig and try to make an example of them because they're in the public light. So I feel like, in this regard, whatever alleged fraud that she got up to, or the reason why she got arrested, is all under a microscope. You can't run away from it. In my mind, I was also just thinking that Nneka's village people are actually just working overtime because, as I, was reflecting before the premiere of Real Housewives of Potomac season 10, that Nneka was part of the show in, prior seasons, I think season 8 or something like that. And she's also from Nigeria, and it just looked like Wendy was giving her a hard time the whole time. Like, and for most of it, it looked like it was because Nneka said that she happens to know Wendy, and because production ran with that, even if you know them, like just their name, production is going to say, oh, you know this person, that's how we're going to introduce you. They're literally looking for the smallest reason to introduce anybody. It's not like her reaching or claiming. She may have just said, yeah, I know her in passing, or I've met her, or she's an acquaintance, but she kind of dragged that on to say that, oh, that's you're trying to use my name to come onto this platform. And I'm just like, if I know who you are and production chooses to run with that or sensationalize that, that's literally not her problem, her fault. Even Andy was like, look, to them, to production, knowing doesn't mean you're friends, you guys kiki every day, you have tea at 10 a.m. every day. No, it's literally, if you vaguely know this person, they have a reason or an angle in which they can bring on the person, because they always need to bring on a person through an angle. It's never random, it's always somebody's friend, quote unquote, Fallon and Portia. That's another franchise, let me not digress. But that was the whole issue. So I feel like she just made that worse than it should have been and alienated her fellow countrymate, when I feel like there could have been a dynamic duo. They could have been, really putting these bitches in their places and representing the African diaspora well together. But instead she chose to feel some type of way about it and make this girl, or sideline this girl and have that mentality of just wanting to be the only one. So for me, it turned me off from her, and I believe literally everything they said about what her family was doing behind the scenes, because she's just dirty, man. So this whole alleged fraud arrest thing is not a surprise in some ways, because I've always felt that she's veiled. I've always felt that there's something pretentious, there's something not right about this girl, there's something not genuine about her, and she tries so hard to sell herself as genuine as this doctor. By the way, she's not even a medical doctor. So she oversells herself, I always feel like people who aren't medical doctors, who refer to themselves as doctors, it's very try hard, because you could just say PhD. So I feel like the whole thing is very much, I feel like it's karmic in some ways for the messiness and the bullshit she's done to her friends, and also Nneka's vindication. The girl who was supposed to have at least another season on Real House of Potomac is finally, some ways, getting her vindication, because people are finally getting to see the type of person this girl really is. And yeah, good on her. Let's hope that this opens the door for her to come back, because she's obviously friends with like Ashley and Giselle. So I hope that this opens the door for her to come back. And if the shoe fits, Wendy will be seeing Nneka in her house, on her TV screen, on Real Houses of Potomac. Why Did I Get Married Again is filming, and looks like most of the old cast is back except for Janet Jackson. And Janet Jackson was kind of very central because she's the one who had the gay husband, and that was a very interesting storyline. So I wonder how they're going to play her absence off, and they're obviously introducing Taraji. Taraji's always a great choice in everything because she's just the girl that she thinks that she is. And it looks like Tyler Perry just loves to dish out a check to Taraji. So good for her, because Tyler's obviously in a really comfortable position in the industry, and if that's her pal, and if that's somebody who's always giving her gigs, that's a good alliance to have. So interesting to see what Taraji's role will be. Will it be a typical Taraji role, like, mistreated black woman, or black woman who's like carrying everything on her shoulders, or like, will she be soft in this season? Will she have a good husband? Will she have a good marriage? Will she be a good example, of marriage in, of relationships within the setting? Or will she be going through the most, as we have seen Taraji to be going through the most in literally almost every single role she's played? Like, that's her lane through and through, and it's what you kind of expect from her. And for me, it actually kind of makes sense why Tyler Perry patronizes her, because Tyler Perry loves, honey, to tell a story of a struggling, mistreated, downtrodden on black woman. Like, she loves to exploit the struggles of black women, and I feel like who better than a person who's always played a role of a mistreated black woman than Taraji? So I feel like they kind of get along for those reasons because that's kind of how she's been typecast. But I think we want to see a different side to her. We want to see a softer side to her. We want to see her happy. We want to see, because obviously she deserves that, right? We want to see her in a different angle and also range to see that she can actually be a girl who's in a soft era and who's enjoying the fruits of life. So it'll be interesting to see how that whole season's going to play out. Obviously, there were snippets of them shooting in Italy, and and all of this, Tyler Perry is obviously ignoring this whole lawsuit issue. It's still ongoing. But to be honest, like, because as we speak as well, Beauty in Black season, or part 2 of season 2 is about to be released, and he really keeps on telling him on himself, I feel, allegedly, in a lot of his work. So why doesn't he just come out? I think if he just comes out and he addresses the rumors, people will move on from it, because I feel like him being in a closet, when we've always thought about the fact that, or we've always allegedly seen him as one of the girls, is really useless at this point. I think own your narrative, live in public in freedom and comfortably, and I think people will respect you more. Anyway, so Derrick Groves, who is the guy who escaped from the NOLA New Orleans prison, was caught in Atlanta recently, and everyone was up in arms about it. Ironically, people were kind of upset that he got caught because it's like they were rooting for him to, I don't know, disappear into somewhere and be on the run forever, essentially. And the biggest question, though, was why the hell was he hiding out in Atlanta? Why the hell was he hiding out in Clout-Lanta? And I think that's kind of the issue, because it's like people check up on Atlanta. It's not one of those places that people ignore or don't know or don't keep up on, or don't keep tabs on. People are always talking about this place. And I think the people who are here and the people that it attracts are people who like clout. So did he eventually want to get caught and it be an issue and it be a scene that he can sort of take advantage of that attention, or be in the spotlight? Does he know family here? There's so many questions on why he actually came here. And then the other thing was, is it maybe because of his identity? Because Atlanta's kind of very black, that he would blend in and people won't really question his identity? Like, what are the politics of why the hell he came to hide out in Clout-Lanta? It just doesn't even make sense. But looks like apparently he requested to be taken back to NOLA. And I also was kind of confused about why it became an issue, but I think, or why this guy has so much attention, or people are talking about him so much. But I think it's also to do with the fact that he's good looking, and it's kind of like that hot villain. Like, remember that hot villain guy who dated the Zara princess person, and how everyone was kind of obsessed with him, and the developments of that relationship, and that apparently them getting engaged and all of that stuff. I think it's kind of that, because people find him physically attractive. They are entertaining or ignoring the fact that he is, a person on the run. But anyway, he got caught, and he was the last one to get caught from all of the people who had escaped. And yeah, the last story I want to end with is the whole Ciara and Russell Wilson love story, but more specifically how they're helping out other black couples in their love journeys and to get love. I just feel like the karma that they're attracting in their relationship is so beautiful, so healthy because of that. Coco Jones, Normani, and all these other black girlies who are really just trying to find a stable black man who's emotionally available and who treats them like a queen and loves on them. They're all just kind of trying to get some gems from Ciara and Russell, and it's beautiful to see, to be honest. I think spread the love if you figured out how to make it work, and if she's in a space where she's with somebody who worships the ground that she stands on, why not that person be a good influence to those men in their lives so they can also do better? So it's really beautiful to see. I just thought it's just such an important role that she's playing for the heteros, obviously, because this is hetero love, but more than anything now, it makes me actually kind of bring Beyonce into the conversation, because there's always been this age-old comparison between Ciara and Beyonce, and who is better, but also who is really the girl who is winning, who is really the girl who is got it together. And when you look at, I guess, career-wise, when you look at the favor of industry, when you look at being at the top of the food chain, obviously, without a question, without a doubt, Beyonce has succeeded in that realm, in terms of the longevity she's had with her career, the success she's had with her career, and the favor she's had in the industry, in them putting her on that pedestal of being the best girl. And so, in some ways, cannibalizing her peers unnecessarily. In some ways, I think both of them could have coexisted in the industry, and they could have been having as long a career as she's had and find success. But I think sometimes with how the politics of black, with the politics of black celebrity and black female celebrities work, it's like there can only be one, and for me, I find that pretty problematic, because I think there's space for, everyone to shine and do their thing just the way they want to do it. And, when you think of love and happiness and fulfillment, I do think Ciara won in that regard. Like, people talk about Ciara's prayer and, how they admire her personal life. So for me, it really goes to show what is actually more important. Is the career, the success in the career and maybe not so much the best personal relationship. You know, is the success in the career better? Because obviously we know that Beyonce and Jay-Z, Beyonce's also in a relationship, and you know, in my personal opinion, and obviously it's alleged because I don't know any of these people, but I think the perception of their relationship, Beyonce and Jay-Z's relationship, is probably the best part of it, and the reality of their relationship may be a completely different story, and because of that, we may never really know the inner workings of their relationship and how it actually functions, if it's healthy, if it's actually good. And we know that obviously he cheated on her and she sang about it and forgave her, and he sang about it as well and apologized and all of that stuff, you know. So the little that we kind of do know, because they're very private, is some of the not so good parts, and the good parts that we do know are somewhat out of context because we still don't really know them. They don't really share much. So that's what I'm saying, the perception of their relationship, I think, is the best part about it, but the reality of it may not necessarily be the best part about it. But again, when it comes to success in career, Beyonce has achieved. And I think with Ciara, it's the opposite. Their relationship looks genuinely quite functional, and she just looks like she's really won in all of that. So what is more important? What is more important? Is the career more important than happiness in love and in life and in family and, you know, at home? Is that more important? I think a balance is probably the best answer for that. It's healthy to have a good personal life, relationship, love, and it's also great to find fulfillment in success. But one without the other, I think there'll always be an imbalance. I don't think there are any winners between the Ciara and Beyonce thing. Anyway, babies, I hope you've enjoyed this episode of The Messiest Bitch on the Internet. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and also follow us on Instagram at BigManEntertainment_, and I'll see you again on the next one.